Welcome to episode 2 of Conflict and Cuisine, serving up all the searing commentary on life, politics, and food, because cuisine is the second half of this. So,
the much anticipated second half.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Middle East, about conflict, what's happened in the last few weeks, what might happen, and then we'll talk about food at the end, and what is the food that we're going to talk about today?
Sloppy Joe's.
Sloppy Joe's.
An American comfort food.
It's an American comfort food. I assume some people don't know what it is, and even people who are from America maybe have never had it. So
I feel very sorry for those people. Yeah.
we're going to tell them why
Yes.
at the end. But first of all, it's been a few weeks, I think, since the last time we did this podcast, so we probably should say Happy New Year.
We should say Happy New Year. Maybe we should introduce ourselves again.
We should definitely introduce ourselves. I'm Seth Frantzman. I'm the Jerusalem Post senior editor on Middle East things. And this is my co-host, Erica Schachne, editor of the
Hello.
Jerusalem Post magazine.
Yes.
And also a little thing called In Jerusalem.
A little
a supplement.
supplement.
Yes.
All things Jerusalem.
So that's what we both do.
Nothing ever happens in this city.
No,
Yeah.
Jerusalem is, it's only like a few
Backwater.
thousand years old. Right.
Yeah.
It's like Akron, Ohio or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the Akron, Ohio of the Middle East. That's what they used to call it, I think.
Did they?
That's the
The
name.
only
name
Akron,
Jerusalem,
Ohio, and the democracy
the name
in the Middle
Yerushalayim,
East.
if you do the geometry of it, it is actually, and then reverse the letters, you get Akron.
Oh, because I thought Billings, North Dakota all this time. But Billings,
Some-
Montana? My
look,
geography.
Some rabbis hold that Jerusalem is the Billings, North Dakota of the Middle East, but others say Akron.
I think Billings is Montana, and I am embarrassing myself with my geography. But either way, some
Somewhere-
rabbis get the geography wrong too.
That's the
Okay,
problem.
shall we?
So, wait, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, happy 2025.
A lot's already happened. It's been a few weeks, but it feels like already like another year's gone by.
It always feels like that in Israel, but especially these, I guess, past
Especially-
few days even.
Right, because we
Yeah.
had the hostage deal, which is on the cover of our paper and every paper.
Right. Do you want to show everyone?
We
this?
could we can show people. 3 hostages were released yesterday, after more than 471 days in captivity.
15 plus months. Yeah.
Yes. So they were successfully freed yesterday. I think it was very heartfelt. It was difficult for everyone watching it, and I think it's been a very difficult 15 months. I think everyone is pretty relieved that they're home, but now we have a deal that is going to go on for another
6 weeks.
Right, 40 days, right?
Yeah. It's so many mixed emotions. Everyone's on a roller coaster, or I don't even know how to put it. Like, I have an emotional hangover from yesterday because we all want these hostages to come home so badly. And women, you look at them, you wonder, God forbid, what happened to them. And they looked okay. They were walking. One of them is unfortunately missing a few fingers. Yeah, and they had beautiful, tearful reunions with their mothers and families, and you know, your heart feels like bursting, and but the price that we have to pay to get them back is so high.
Right. I think the understanding is every week 3 or 4 people will be released.
Right.
And then the last day of this 42-day or so ceasefire, it will be like, there's like 9 that will be released. I think not all of them are thought to be alive, I guess, not clear. So there's always this question of waiting to the last minute till they say who it will be.
Right.
And then at the same time, Israel's releasing like thousands of terrorists, right?
Right, to the streets of Jerusalem, to Yehuda and Shomron,
That's what
and
they
these are actual murderers.
Right. Murderers, there's 200 of them
Rapists.
have life sentences, right? Sexual
Yeah.
assault. The worst of the worst types of people.
Killer of Ari Fold.
Right.
And many
Yeah.
others. Just these, and now people have to live with the fact that their murderers are, you know, their children's murderers are on the street. But I don't know, yesterday was a roller coaster for other reasons too. It's like the psychological torture, as you mentioned. We have to wait till the last minute to find out if they're going to be released, who, and then when the Red Cross Ubers them over, because that's their only function,
Yeah.
and then they get in this clutch and mob of Hamas people, and to just change them over from one van to the other is a very scary part for these young women. I feel for them. It's also traumatic. And then, you know, a lot of people are wondering about the Bibas family, why they weren't among the those first released, and they're speculating, is that because they're not alive? It's just, the not knowing is really hard, but we do know that these young women are home. So
Right, and that's important, I think. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
was the big thing that is, everyone's been pushing for that. And, you know, there were some scenes, you mentioned this whole thing with this mobs of leering men crushing around these vehicles and stuff, which obviously, it's not a good way to handle this. It's part of the choreography that Hamas has to showcase their power, and I think, to try to have one last traumatic aspect. But there was something strange that Hamas did as well. They gave the women...
I'm laughing already because I know what you're going to say.
They gave the women little bags.
Gift bags.
They gave them
commemorative souvenirs.
Very bizarre gift bags, like the kind of thing you get at like if you went to the Oscars or something, like some bling or whatever, right?
Or some graduation mug or something.
Right. It's really, really bizarre. I mean, it's totally bizarre with the Hamas logo on it, I think, and it was like very nicely made. And you kind of wonder, like, wait, wasn't Hamas? I thought that was under siege in Gaza. It was like 15 months of war. They claimed that the Hamas members were like people were starving in a famine. But yet they were able to make these very nice little gift bags to
and
give
certificates, these wonderful certificates. Thank you for
Right.
your participation in the Gaza Hamas hostage game.
Right.
And I guess it's more psychological torture. Or was
Right.
someone really zany over there?
Something weird. Now Israel doesn't do that. Israel doesn't give the 3,000 prisoners a gift bag after they are released, right? That's not part of the deal.
we should give them a can of whoop ass and
Or a
bag.
pager. They could all get pagers.
Yeah.
Right.
Or a flip phone.
Yeah. That's right, but they don't get we don't. Israel
An exploding toaster.
I assume that they were all released with a toaster. I'm not sure they'd take that home probably.
Oh man.
But right. So that was a bit strange. I think people made light of that.
That was an unusual twist. I mean, but I think everyone's just very concerned about the long game. We're kind of all in the dark, and we're wondering how we waited 15 months, and we haven't had hostages for months and months and months come home, and all of a sudden, this is decided so quickly.
Right, that's interesting. So it was interesting. So this deal, apparently, if I understand, the parameters of the deal have been there for about almost a year. It hasn't changed much. Basically, there was the first deal, in November. It was late November, I don't know, not 25 or something. It was like for 5 or 6 days. And
Just
it ended.
Like a month and a half after October 7th. It was
right,
so
it
soon
ended,
after.
That's right. It was like for 10 days almost, and they're almost 100 people released or something. And it ended on December 1st. Hamas basically didn't deliver a list, and the fighting started again.
Right.
Then the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, said, don't worry, we're going to pressure them again. There'll be more deals. There were no more deals. But
they
there
did have
was
rescue operations.
We had rescued.
Right.
We rescued. Right, they rescued 2 guys, I think, in Rafah, and then there was the ones in Nusrat, 4 of them, including Argamani, who was from the Nova Festival.
Right.
So there were some that were rescued. There were lots of bodies that were found, unfortunately.
Right.
Recovered.
Right.
But there were no more deals. But as I understand it, the framework of this deal was basically settled by around May, and it didn't happen. There was the Rafah fight. Remember, there was the Rafah battle. Israel went into Rafah, and then.
Right.
And then, I don't know, lots of other things happened that somehow sabotaged it. And then, when Trump was coming into office, Trump said, I want this to happen.
He steamrolled it in, it appears. I don't really know. I mean,
It's a bit of a mystery. He sent his envoy, Steve Witkoff, over here. And it seems like a bit of a scene out of like The Godfather, where that guy came in and just said, you, and you're going to do this deal, and you're going to sign this piece of paper and just get it done.
oh man, maybe in May. I mean, I hate to ascribe good motives to our wonderful leaders. I mean, I should give them the benefit of the doubt, right? But maybe they were hoping for something better. But I guess Trump was like, no, you're not getting anything better.
Right.
Let's try one more time. We're hoping it's right before they smoke Iran, but there's no way of knowing.
Right.
Right.
It seems that Trump, everyone in the region seems to want to please him. He's coming into power, and I think they trust him, or they know he's serious.
Right.
And I guess that
That's
that was
refreshing.
what pushed it forward. So, all this dilly-dallying by the Biden administration and flip-flopping and that weird floating pier and the threats to cut off
everyone's
weapons
forgotten
and all this
about that,
nonsense. Yeah, I mean
yeah.
nobody remembers how
Sunk, literally.
the U.S. administration, I think, did a lot of things in the last year that were questionable. But it
Very,
seems now
very non-memorable things. Yeah, like
That's
just,
right.
They really didn't govern or lead very much. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think now there's a deal. So then the question is, whether Hamas will fulfill its obligations.
I mean, why would they? They're just a killer terrorist, but they themselves want to be successful, and they.
Right. Does it concern you that you said terrorists being released? They're going to be in Jerusalem now?
It does concern me, honestly. On the way here, on the light rail, I was laughing to myself, thinking I could be squished next to a terrorist. You have to laugh. You have to get through this with black humor. But
Right.
I'm more nervous knowing they're roaming the streets.
Have you considered a gun license?
I've always considered a gun license, but I'm a dangerous person, so I don't think they give it to me. Have you?
I've thought about getting one. I have few of my friends have them, and I was with a guy a few days ago. I was just joking with him because there was a terrorist attack in Tel Aviv, and near where he lived.
Right.
And I said to him, we should have the gun license. And he said, I'm packing. He said, I've got it in my backpack. I said, I didn't know.
And now I feel safer.
Yeah.
I mean,
so,
maybe
lots of people have them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe an improvised like glitter bomb or
Right.
something. I don't know. I have mace on a keychain, but
Right.
I don't really know how to operate it. It just makes me feel better psychologically.
It's a problem.
I
That's why in
have to
Jerusalem, lots of people, I think, are armed.
They are, and in the Shomron, Yehuda and
Right.
Shomron,
Oh,
where most of the terrorists were let out.
Right.
Yeah.
There's more weapons there than people, maybe.
I hope. I mean, honestly. I do want to say that, you mentioned how Trump kind of steamrolled
Yeah,
this in.
that's
and
right.
On one hand, I love the decisiveness about him. On the other hand, this is the first time I've always been a Trump supporter. I've been very open about that, even when it was uncool. But I don't know, I felt a little loss of faith. I know that Trump's second term could be different than Trump's first term, and he was disappointed in the way Israel received him and the support he got from Jews. So I'm just a little worried, how this was steamrolled through, and I'm really sorry for saying steamrolled so many times, pushed through, but
Right.
I'm hoping there's something we don't know.
So do you think
Yeah.
that the sequel, the Trump 2 sequel, will be sort of like Jaws 2 was to Jaws, as in not quite as good?
Trump to electric
It's not going to
Boogaloo.
be like Aliens was to Alien, which Aliens is clearly the far superior film. And Alien's good, but it's not Aliens.
But Godfather 2 is just as good.
See, that's a good question. Is Godfather
Yeah.
2 a good movie?
Apparently, it's a masterpiece. Godfather 3 is a joke.
Wait, Godfather 3, I think we can all agree, is not
Say it
great.
doesn't exist.
It's not great.
Yeah.
What makes Godfather 2 a masterpiece in your view?
I really should ask my dad because he's the one that's the Godfather fan. You out there?
My problem with it, as I remember it, is it starts with the young Vito Corleone, whatever. He's back in Italy, and then there's this blood feud. He gets sent off to America kind of by himself as like a 12-year-old kid or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you jump back and forth to the Godfather, his son, Michael.
Michael, who
Who's
didn't
in
want to
Vegas,
be a
hanging
Godfather.
out, doing whatever,
Yeah.
and then there's an assassination attempt, and he's going to figure it
Right.
out. He goes to Cuba, which is kind of cool, because it's like 1959, before
Right.
Castro.
Right.
And then you go back and forth with I think Robert De Niro playing the younger Vito or whatever, and then it's good. There's nothing wrong with it. I think I don't know if it's better than the first one, but that's a good question. So the Trump administration could be Godfather 2.
I really hope it will be. It's just we're looking at it in our own narrow. I
Right.
don't feel narrow, but we have our own interests like everyone else. So we're wondering, vis-a-vis us, is it going to be
Right, but it's probably a good thing that Trump
Yeah.
looked at this war and said, listen, this is 15 months of war. It's not going anywhere. There's no clear goal.
Right.
It's just diminishing returns. You guys have to just do something. What do they say? Fish or cut bait?
right.
It was like, you got to do that. And I think in the end of the day, in the absence of the war, winning the war and getting rid of Hamas, the next option is to get the hostages back.
Right, we had to.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right. So I think, it could have been done
morally,
earlier,
it
but I
was
think
tearing
that's
us
right.
apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are now.
Yeah.
Trump is being inaugurated this week, even though people
would
will be
like
watching
to
this after it happens.
Present
But
this beautiful cover
That's
of the
right.
magazine.
is that him doing the YMCA dance?
Oh no, the YMCA. Well, it could have been, which he did at his victory ball.
That's right.
And
that
they all were
victory.
represented. All those beautiful costumes
Yeah,
of
one of them is an Indian.
One
There's
is a construction
mailman,
worker.
construction worker, plumber. I don't know. Is a policeman?
mailman. Now that's a
Oh, you don't
blowback,
think
a
that one of them?
throwback.
You don't think one of them dresses up as a mailman?
Does mail even exist anymore? Well, it does
In
in
the
the
time
U.S.
when the YMCA
yeah.
song was written, back in the 70s or whatever.
Right.
Clearly, being a male and mailman was a more common thing.
Right. I
So-
don't know what.
I don't know if one of them's a male. Anyway,
Anyway.
Trump loves the song.
He
apparently.
just moved, and he had a very interesting smile on his face. I wondered what he was thinking.
They had the victory party. Did
Yeah.
RFK speak? I think Elon Musk spoke.
Yeah, and his son was there, XYVPRN.
Right, his son was there. And then Trump is inaugurated, and then I guess the question is, what's going to happen in the first bit of this administration? He's going to declassify the JFK information.
Is he really?
That's what he said. Yeah, he said he's going to declassify all the records and stuff. So
He's going to tell us aliens are real.
And he's going to ban TikTok or not ban it?
Okay, so I've been following this very closely because to me it's fascinating. TikTok is the lifeblood, it seems, of America these days, for bad and good. And it was crazy. All these influencers were going to lose their jobs. Oh, my God. So and Trump was making a big deal how it was going to be banned, and these TikTok people who have thousands upon thousands of followers and make their living on this and get so much swag, they've been preparing. Are they going to go on YouTube? What are they going to do? And now it was gone for a few hours and it's back. Was it a bait and switch?
Wait, are you on TikTok?
I am not on TikTok, and believe it or not, I did not start watching TikTok until like a few weeks ago, which is really odd. It's like it's like starting to smoke at like age 45.
Right. That's not common.
Yeah.
How do people make money on TikTok?
You just kind of do some dance or show yourself cleaning in your house or your decor, the drink that you get at Starbucks, and then people are very interested in your content and your voice, and they start following you, and then all these companies contact you because they see that you have a following, and they start sending you swag, and you can monetize it. You can charge money to these companies. Honestly, I think you could have a successful TikTok account.
It's all like short little bits, though, right?
It can be. It could have shorts. You could have vlogs, like longer videos. But YouTube is usually the longer videos, and the shorts you can just scroll all day long.
And they're banning it because it's a Chinese influence up, or what?
Yeah, because it seems like they're subliminally or not so much giving propaganda that's tearing American society apart. I mean,
what they say,
it wasn't good for Israel either.
Wait, so are you in favor of the ban or not?
On a personal level, I'm not, because I'm addicted to TikTok, called reset videos, where people go around and clean their house, because I'm a weird person, but I'm not weird because there's millions of people who follow
It's just a video of a guy cleaning his house.
It's a woman who's like, oh, today's Sunday, and I have to set myself up before the working week, because that's America, and they actually have Sundays off, unlike us. But then they say, like, oh, I gotta wash the sheets, get my coffee ready to get, like, really do a speed clean, and you know, they use their sponge and they clean the sink. I don't know. It's so satisfying somehow. They're doing decisive actions like Trump, and they're scrubbing the sink. It sounds strange. I don't know. I find it very soothing and relaxing.
Everyone has their weird things.
So on a personal level,
You're for TikTok.
I like TikTok. It's fun, but on the other hand, I think that Americans are addicted to it, especially youth. You know, and it's hard to lift your head and. Also, the nefarious part of it, that maybe they really are like Trojan horsing their way in
through house cleaning videos.
Right, subliminally. No, but who knows? And also, TikTok's been terrible in terms of just hasbara for Israel. I don't want to stifle free speech, but I don't know, one way or the other. And Israel will still get TikTok regardless. I mean,
right. No, it doesn't matter for Israel. That's right. And then the other thing that I guess the Trump administration, the inauguration, whatever, the first few days, besides the aliens and JFK, is there's some, well, I think the Biden administration had some last-minute pardons. In the Trump administration, the question is whether they're going to deal with this January 6th stuff, pardon some of these guys like that. Remember there was that QAnon shaman or whatever?
I can't stop thinking about it.
The guy with the, what did he have, horns or something?
Yeah, the Viking.
Right.
So I've been wondering about him for a long time.
We haven't heard much from him but maybe he will be back.
Is he on a ship doing a journey, or is he going to be at the inauguration in full costume and full splendor?
Or in solitary confinement somewhere.
Right. I mean, I felt kind of bad about that whole thing, but...
So there's lots of moves to be made there.
We'll see about that. And, who did you say got pardoned? Dr. Fauci?
I think that Biden pardoned Dr. Fauci. And that, of course, leads to the question of, well, what were the crimes he was pardoned for? But I saw that Fauci put out a long statement saying that he had felt, I guess there was a feeling that the new administration would go after him or something. I don't know, whatever.
He's like, I'm feeling very insecure. Right. Help me, Joe.
Something. So now, with all that's finished, the pardons are done. Trump is in office. And that leads us back, I think, to the Middle East.
Right.
Because one of the things that Trump could be doing here after the ceasefire is Saudi normalization.
Right. I mean, it does seem like a reality, and it's something I think Saudi Arabia wants. We want it too.
Right. So what's the story there? I mean, there's been talk of Saudi normalization for like years. It never happens. It's like waiting for Godot or something.
Right.
So do you think really now it's going to happen?
I would love for it to happen. It seems more likely than ever that it would.
Why? Why is it more likely?
Because Trump's in office. I don't see why not. I mean...
He'll send Steve Witkoff over there and they'll say, listen, you see what we did for the deal? Normalize now. And they'll, okay, fine. No problem.
All the princes will get in line. No, we all have a common enemy. And,
right.
we're doing well with our mutual interests. That
We
also
both
money.
have an enemy called the Houthis.
We went over this. We have Houthi and the Blowfish, which we don't like,
Houthis.
and they've been kind of quiet lately, haven't
Quiet,
they?
but they claim they will continue to attack ships linked to Israel.
I hope not the Viking ship that the QAnon shaman is.
That would be a mistake, of course, but right. So the Saudis don't like the Houthis. Israel doesn't like them. We don't. I don't know.
We all are, just want to get rid of the menace that is Iran, and
Right. Although the Saudis have some sort of like weird deal with Iran now, right? Brokered by the Chinese or something. I don't know.
I think they did that in the absence of America to be a real
Because
stable
they felt
broker.
that the Biden was not there for them. So now
Yeah.
that Trump's back, they'll feel empowered again.
Yeah, there's somebody to keep,
Right.
a strong man in the Middle East or a strong man in the world to really keep order, and that's what Trump really does well.
Although what I understood was that the Saudi ask was, Israel needs to do needs to give something to the Palestinians, and I guess the question is whether the Israeli government will be flexible on that issue, especially considering the fact that there's all this terrorists being released and blah blah blah.
I mean, I think that was more, as I said last time, like posturing. They just have to, what is that word? Virtue signal. But
Virtue signaling.
But
I don't get the
maybe
sense.
they'll
I
give
don't
them-
feel that the Israeli administration, the current one, is good at virtue signaling. They're kind of
No.
good at just being like, not really. Like
No,
they're kind of hard nosed and
They like the opposite of virtue signaling.
Yes,
They say,
it's
I spit on your virtue
it's
signaling.
It's disvirtuous.
Right, I want make you hate me.
Right.
Yeah, but Ben Gvir supposedly resigned.
Ben Gvir's not there. The National Religious Party with Smotrich is staying in the government, even though they're against the deal.
Right, but going back to the Saudis, maybe they can give the Palestinians a gift bag.
Right, they could agree to give gift bags, and that would probably
A
that would
certificate
smooth
of
it out.
participation.
A certificate of you could maybe have a stake.
Yeah, like a trophy just for taking part.
Participation trophy.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think that would be enough, probably, and that would kind of just be enough. And
Sue
then
the
deal-
Americans.
And then there would be normalization, everything would be fine.
Oh, okay, so we've solved it. I feel great about this.
Now, the other thing that's happening in Israel, since we're back in the region,
We're back.
is that there's domestic politics, which I find, usually to be a snoozer, but
Yeah.
some people care about it. There is a cost of living increase.
I personally care a lot about that because it affects me daily, and I'm sure it affects you too. Starting January, already it's been very expensive to live here, and the
Right.
cost of living, it's not commensurate with salaries or just any of that, and we have to fund the war now especially, so starting January 1, we had rises in prices all really across the board.
Things like cottage cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Eggs.
VAT tax.
What is VAT?
Value-added tax.
What is value-added tax?
Value added for who? Not for me.
Okay,
but,
so here, let's say this phone.
Some certain percentage.
So a man makes a phone in a Chinese lodge. Anyway.
Right.
And then there's value. Where is the value added? Is it by the workers or by the people that sell it?
I think it's added to
What
the
co-
government,
what is
which gets a
taxed?
certain amount of money.
They tax just the
Sorry.
value that's added?
Well, define value.
Well, that's right. So that's a question. I mean, the people that make it are alienated from their labor, right? And they're not provided fair compensation. So they're not. That's not the value.
That's not the value.
The real value is the markup that starts with the thing it's made is costs 20 cents to make it, and it's sold for $300. That's tax?
I mean, that's always the value, but I think it's just a nice way to make money. And if you go
Wait,
to
so
a
I don't
lot,
understand. So
however,
what
there's
you're
no
saying
VAT.
Are you saying the VAT was increased?
It was increased. So let's say it was 17% on whatever the
Right.
price was. Now it's a certain amount.
And what the merchant does, or whoever manufactures it, is they just pass that on to you, the consumer. They don't.
Yeah,
eat
just
that
like
cost.
Arnona is passed on to the renter, the city, the municipal
Right.
tax instead of the
Right.
owner of the apartment.
So everything is more expensive. So we screwed up. We should have bought cars last year, huh? It's a good thing my wife bought one last year because I'll tell you, I wanted to
Go
get a
Seth's
new.
wife.
Yeah, well, I helped her get a deal actually. and
I
I'm not-
believe that.
we got rid of this old
You
Toyota
brokered
Yaris
this
we had. And
deal.
she's got a new, not new, but it's newish. I unfortunately am driving this. I have it's like a mini SUV. It's a crossover.
Why are
But I want a new one.
You're driving a jalopy, you poor thing.
I'm driving something that is not ideal, and I'd like to get something a bit bigger, whatever, like some sort of Kia Sportage or I don't know.
I don't know. These are all
Lamborghini or
brands. Oh, a Lamborghini. I never
How
heard
about
of
an
such things.
Oldsmobile?
Yeah. How about a VW Bug?
Why did someone invent, Oldsmobile? Who
Old.
decided? No, who decided that was a good brand name?
New
listen,
Mobile.
Yeah, that's mobile. You know what we could do? Let's put the word old in front of it because people will buy it. It's like, no, how about, it's a horrible name.
Well, maybe it's desirous to seem elderly.
Well, you won't be buying one of those anytime soon because the cost of living went up, and now you can barely.
I won't be buying.
You can barely afford cottage cheese.
I can barely afford to sit on this chair. I
Exactly.
mean, the airtime I'm taking up.
Well, when we next have the episode, we'll be on stools or beanbags.
We'll be fighting over a tuna can.
Right.
Um,
Another thing that happened recently, I guess, is this California wildfires are finally beaten.
I'm not. I guess. I mean, maybe they're not actively destroying large swathes of
Swaths.
LA. Swaths. See, that's the problem. I was just talking about this as an editor.
Swathe or swath?
I think it's swaths. If you read a lot, you sometimes don't know how to pronounce the word.
Well,
I am
like,
guilty of
for
that.
instance, the word for the Versailles Treaty at the end of the First World War, if you sound it out, it's Versailles.
Right, or Versailles.
Something, but if you the way it's supposedly pronounced is Versailles.
Right.
Like lots of French words where like half the letters are just silent.
French. I mean, epitome, epitome. I can't get it straight. So anyway,
Souffle.
swathes, swaths. So it doesn't seem like LA actively is still being destroyed, but so much damage.
A lot of destruction. I saw a
Very sad,
person I
actually.
follow out there. He was showing videos down there in Malibu and these areas because Palisades are
Decimated.
destroyed.
And just
They
regular,
say some Israeli firefighters went to help. I think. Right.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Israel
Right.
does fly into the disasters and help out always.
I think there was some support
Say
from
that
Israel.
for Israel. And there was some support from Jamie Lee Curtis, who very wisely said that the destruction is reminiscent of Gaza. So thanks, Jamie, for that.
It's not very nice.
No, it's not very nice and not very smart. But celebrities.
Well, what was her best role? Was it Trading
Halloween?
Spaces?
Halloween?
No. What? No. Jamie Lee Curtis. She
Yes,
was in
she was in
Halloween.
Halloween.
Oh,
Isn't that where she got her start?
I
know I'm not.
wait,
It wasn't.
Hold on. She was in Fish Call Wanda.
Yes.
And
True Lies with Arnold
Oh.
Schwarzenegger. That was later.
Yeah, that's right. That's probably R-rated, isn't it?
Yeah, she did a little. She had a lovely body.
Right. Maybe. Yeah. I thought the listeners probably would not want to see that.
Right. But Fish
That would
Called
be-
Wanda
that's
is
for
a
our other
classic.
show that we do.
Right.
Fish Call Wanda is great. That's a very,
Yeah, I
haven't
feel
seen.
like we should watch that again
Maybe we
soon.
could have some clips on for that next time.
Yeah, and that reminds me of the movie Splash because of fish and
Was that about whales that were stuck somewhere?
Splash.
What happens? Oh, that's the mermaid woman.
Yeah, with Daryl
Yeah, that's
Hannah and Tom
right.
Hanks.
That's an oldie but goodie.
Yeah, and other sea creatures. By the way, I'm sorry I digress, but I just learned about, speaking of sea creatures, did you know that at the London Bridge terror attack, a guy who owned a fish restaurant came out with some sort of pike?
A
and,
harpoon or something, right?
Yeah, like some sort of narwhal
That's right.
harpoon.
That's right. And he fought the guy with that.
I just learned about that.
Oh, you didn't know it?
No, but I was amazed. And
Yeah, though that was a good one.
astounded,
That
actually.
shows. Well, you were just speaking about how you're afraid of being on the bus with this terrorist being released, but maybe you just could get a harpoon.
narwhal
You just
harpoon.
carry that around. I think that'd be fine. And that segues back into the whole story of that weird
Yes.
Canaan shaman. Maybe they could just bring him over here. It'd be okay.
Yeah, I think he should be a personal bodyguard. And also
Right.
that segues back into the California wildfires. Because people are
How?
saying that the reason there wasn't enough water
That was
is
this
because
endangered fish. or something.
genius governor Gavin Newsom
Right.
wanted to give the water somehow to save some type of fish who wasn't even saved. I don't get it at all. It's all very California to me.
Right, and also when those planes go in to pick up the water to drop it on the fire, they suck up some of those fish anyway. I mean,
I don't
so-
know. Fish seems to be the order of the day here. Like I don't get it. I don't. Sorry,
which I think brings
Having a
us then
moment.
to one of our weekly segment, which is
a surprising weekly segment.
is it surprising? We call it Nobody Cares About Algeria.
Right, because as promised last time, we mentioned Algeria, yet nobody ever talks
Nobody
about
talks
it.
about it.
We don't
Look,
know much
we
about
have
it.
We publish a newspaper here. It's never in our pages. I've never written
Rarely.
about Algeria. I don't know. I mean, I know where it is, but if I could draw, I guess I could find it on a map. But I mean,
Me too,
it's one of those
yeah.
things you really never hear. We never cover it. You never in the magazine. Nobody. Who's the leader? No, we don't know. Nobody cares. We don't, for whatever reason.
I only hear about it in the context of North African Jews, and then
Because there were lots of Algerian Jews.
yeah, and also what I always had the impression was that there was a lot of terrorists or hijackers coming from Algeria, and that actually is borne out.
Oh,
you
they're
know,
back in
by-
the day, in the
back
60s.
in the day, like in the glory days of hijacking.
Right. Because they had like a revolutionary regime. When the French
Yeah.
left Algeria, or they were thrown out or whatever,
Thrown
there was
out.
the war.
Yeah.
There was a liberation struggle. The French left. There were lots of, there were also many French people that lived there, and many Jews, as we noted. Many people left. There was a revolution, and it became like Revolution in Algeria. It was part of this like whole joie de vivre of like the Palestinian Liberation Organization and stuff.
Right.
Didn't they host like Black Panthers and Cuban revolutions? Who knows what?
Probably.
And then they hosted terrorists, I guess, right? Is that
and
right?
Then it seems like homegrown almost. Like
Then there was a civil war in the 90s between the Islamist extremists, I think, and the government, which is a secular revolutionary regime or whatever. And all that
seems
happened.
like who won?
No, the government won. I mean, I think the ostensibly secular government. I think
Right, but there still is Islamism there.
I guess, I'm not sure,
There is media censorship, and
right, it's kind of probably a pseudo-dictatorship or something, I don't know.
Probably. I still don't know much
Israelis
about
allowed
Algeria.
to go? No.
I would say it's probably inadvisable. I don't know if they're forbidden.
No, if they
like
have French citizenship or something, but Israelis will not be permitted to go. It's
I
one of the
wouldn't
many
say
countries that doesn't like Israel.
Indonesia, the Maldives.
No, but I think Indonesia is a bit more on the cusp. They've been rumors of normalization over the last years.
Right. I actually have a friend whose whole purpose in her job is to
normalize.
Yeah, to bring that together.
Indonesianize Israel.
Yeah, and we have been on the cusp of it, and we
but
would love that.
Algeria's not on the
I
cusp.
don't see an Algeria and Israel friendship
not gonna
league
be. So you don't think
much.
Trump will not bring normalization? With
I mean,
Algeria?
but we can wait and see in the headlines if something major happens in Algeria.
But nobody cares.
I mean, I care just because it's interesting to me.
Right.
But their national day is July 5th.
Well,
so
we could probably do a segment for that.
Yeah, and it's very convenient if you're celebrating July 4th. You just go straight from American to Algerian.
Right.
And your fireworks can work for both. And then, one last thing about Algeria that I learned is tourism has not been a priority over there. So
because nobody cares.
I guess so. Nobody cares about Algeria.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well,
we're gonna have to find another. We're gonna have a regular segment on this.
We'll have
so we're
to
gonna
unfortunately wrap that part of the.
I know, but next time we'll talk about other things that we should care about Algeria.
And now let's add to the Nobody Cares segment another person that nobody seems to care about now, which is
Bashar Assad and his lovely wife Asma.
Right. So they were important up until December 8th when they disappeared and ran away.
And
they've never been seen since.
In Moscow, they're living a very quiet life.
Pretty quiet.
A very tsanua life.
Right. I guess they've not seen much there. Moscow, of course, at this time of year is freezing cold, and it's also quite. I think it's dark most of the day or something.
There were rumors, that Asma was filing for divorce.
Because it sucks over there, yeah.
No, but also I can't believe she didn't love Bashar for himself. I thought she was madly in love with him. I mean,
wait, they got married before he became a dictator. He was just an optometrist.
Right, but he was like adjacent to the throne. He was a prominent family.
He was dictator adjacent.
He was dictator adjacent, but his brother was supposed to,
what
take
happened
over.
to the brother? Did
he got into a car accident.
He had a car accident. He fell out of a window.
Bashar engineered.
He fell out of a window.
An accordion fell on his head.
On the first floor. And then Bashar became dictator.
Seamlessly was promoted to military general or whatever
his
it
dad,
was.
Hafiz, died in like 2000. He became the dictator.
Right.
And Asma followed him there. And then they spent 24 years misruling the country. Until
chemically gassing and stealing. And, so now they're just in obscurity in Moscow. They must be killing Asma.
Yeah, they're living in one of these Brezhnev, 8-story apartment buildings in Moscow where they have to wait 6 years to get a fridge or something.
I don't know where she's going to get her Hermes scarves from, but hopefully we'll hear more because nobody cares about them. And
Nobody cares, but we will keep it on the radar. And
I would like to keep it on the radar.
I think we'll add that as a weekly segment.
I am enjoying
what has not
this.
happened with the Assads?
Yes, exactly. What has not happened?
Right.
What shopping spree has Asma knocked on?
What didn't happen this week?
What didn't happen?
Now, the last thing we'd like to talk about is
the
cuisine.
favorite
Actually,
part.
most people I think that I've been watching it mostly waited for this, which is the sloppy joes.
Yes, I love a good sloppy joe. Does everyone know what a sloppy joe is?
Can you tell us what the heck it is?
Okay, I'm going to tell you from my own experience what it is. It's literally, it's chopped meat, what they call basar takhun here, but it's an American comfort food, and you just saute it in oil, maybe with onions and perhaps some peppers, and then you put in manwich sauce. I love that, manwich. And then you put it between a soft bun, and it's a sloppy joe.
Is there
delicious.
Is there spam involved?
No. Ugh. No.
Ugh.
No, it's delicious chopped meat.
Listen, before we did because we were supposed to talk about this, I went and printed out a recipe.
I see.
Because I wanted to understand what it was. Now.
Yes, because you are not a real connoisseur of the sloppy joe,
well,
right?
I mean, I like the ingredients, so I assume I like it. Look, it's got ground beef in it.
Right, which is always good.
That is the same thing you'd put in like a bolognese sauce, right?
Right, or a meat lasagna.
Then you've got apparently bell peppers, onions, garlic, and other types of things. That go
Right.
Now,
A homemade sauce
so how
or
is
a
this?
manwich
Wait a
sauce.
second. I'm sorry to say, but how is this different than just making a bolognese sauce out of meat and putting it on a bun instead of putting it with pasta?
Because it's easier. You just literally take chopped meat and you saute it with a manwich sauce. Like it comes in a can.
But nobody in Israel can buy manwich sauce. I'm sure it's
I
not
know,
good.
and that's
it's
one of
not
the things-
possibly kosher.
Well, I'm having a hard time with that over my
Wait a
15
second.
years of Aliyah.
All these sauces can be replicated. I'm sure it's like
They
ketchup and
can.
barbecue sauce and mustard or something.
Right, or you could probably get it at one of these comfort food American joints like Hatches.
I think
or
there's
something.
Worcestershire sauce also goes into it. I read that there's brown sugar, yellow mustard goes into it.
It's like making sweet and
tomato
sour
sauce.
meatballs.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, so I guess it is a glorified, or bolognese is glorified sloppy Joe.
Yeah, that's right. That's because when bolognese sauce was originally invented in the central Italy, and I guess in Bologna or whatever, there were people there, and they said, you know what? They've just got back from America
Right.
in 1730, and they're like, you know what? People are eating in America. They're eating this thing called sloppy joes, and someone said, well, let's make that, and then that became bolognese sauce.
Right, and Italian food, that's how it's gotten its wonderful
Most
reputation.
Italian food actually is originally American. That's why
Pizza.
Yeah, and the aglio olio sauce. Pizza's obviously was originally in America, then was brought over to Italy.
To Naples, yeah.
Yeah, that's obvious.
Chinese food started in America.
Chinese food started in America, then went to China.
Mugu Pan.
Right, General Cho's chicken, for instance. General Cho was born in the United
Was
States.
an American war hero.
Right, he was fought in like the Civil War or something. He led one of the brigades under General Jackson or something.
Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah, they
Good
always
old
said General.
Andy.
That's what they said, you know, Tippecanoe and Tyler too, and General Cho
And Sloppy Joe.
and Sloppy Joe.
Wait, so who is Joe?
General Cho, no idea. But
Okay.
wait, let's go back to the
Joe,
So
Sloppy
so
Joe.
in the recipe I read, it says
Okay.
it's saucy, beefy,
Saucy.
and so satisfying. Now beefy, I don't think no beefy's a word.
Oh, beefy's definitely a word.
Yeah, okay.
When you refer to people, let's say in the gym, hefty. But you know, in terms of
No, you'd say built.
no, but you could say someone's beefy.
That might be an
Usually, if
insult.
they're stocky and they're like a little but they're a little bit built.
If you were talking to one of your girlfriends and she was going to go on a date with a guy, would you say like, "Yeah, Brad is quite beefy"?
I would.
I don't think she'd
I'd
be
say
like. She'd be like, "No, I don't
his
think
cheek
so."
has a pinkish hue, and he's
Okay.
as Seinfeld said. Yeah. Oh, so the recipe. I mean, of course, you found the very high-end version, whereas I'm just putting in the can. But like, yeah, if Israelis want to make this and
You
have
chop
some
the
American,
you chop the vegetables, there's onion, garlic, bell pepper, whatever. Then you make the sauce with the brown sugar and the water, mustard, tomato sauce, Worcestershire sauce, and all that. Then you saute the beef like you do a bolognese, basically with all these vegetables. You add the sauce, and it all kind of gels together.
yeah, and you
it
put it on
down.
a hamburger bun,
Then it goes on a
One plate
toasted
meal,
brioche or a bun.
or just like a good old soft hamburger bun that you just bought in the supermarket.
That's it. It's pretty simple. Or a hoagie, right, or whatever, a sub sandwich. You can just put
Right.
it in.
I've never had it in a hoagie, but I guess that could be okay.
Well, that would be similar to like a Philly cheesesteak, but different.
Right.
So that's it. I mean, it's sloppy in the sense that it's always a mess. I remember they used to have them in like cafeteria at school, and it was always cool, but it was also like this huge mess.
Right, because it's coming out of the bun and goes on your face
Right.
and your clothing. As a kid, you don't mind.
Right.
And as an adult, I guess you just wear like a lobster bib
You get a bit.
and
a
then
sloppy bit.
have a mountain full of napkins.
Yeah, and in Israel, look, it's not that this sandwich doesn't exist in Israel. It does. There's a few places in Jerusalem, or maybe one or two that have them. There's also a chain restaurant called Reuben in Israel that I've discovered have sloppy joes. So
We have to go there.
it's not that you
mean,
can't
everyone-
find them.
Yeah, you can, but it's just not as readily available as going to the grocery store, buying the sauce, and just going home and voila, in 10 minutes having your sloppy joe. So
I think what's good probably is what makes them good is cooking that sauce down for a long time till it kind of sits
reducing it,
Right,
adding
well,
a
then
mirepoix.
Yeah, that's right. And then
Yeah.
it gets all the nice flavors and stuff, as opposed to if you do it really quickly, I feel like it's not really gelled and it will really just fall apart.
But I really think like a sloppy joe is not a high level, so you don't really have to reduce it down. But if you'd like to, I mean, I'm not opposed. I'm sure it's delicious.
Right. Well, that I think unfortunately that brings us to the end of this.
The sloppy end of our sloppy joe segment.
Right. So we look forward to next time.
Me
and it's
too.
been
I very
great.
much look forward to it. Yeah, and we hope that the hostages will rest comfortably.
Hopefully something
and,
will happen. Yes.
Yeah, and hopefully something good will happen. We all deserve that.
Something good. More hostages will come out.
And Am Yisrael Chai.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.